and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. Here's what's coming up on the program right now. President Bola Tinubu to address a joint session of the National Assembly tomorrow, May the 29th, to celebrate 25 years of unbroken democracy since 1999. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, seeks the scrapping of State Electoral Commission and transfer of the function to INEC. Governorship election petition tribunals declare Governors Diri of Bayelsa State and Usman Ododo of Kogi State winners of the November governorship elections. Thanks again for joining us. Let's begin by telling you that the President will be heading to the National Assembly tomorrow, May the 29th, where he will deliver the State of the Nation address to a joint session of the legislature in Abuja. President Bola Tinubu will also inaugurate the National Assembly Library. A statement by the clerk to the National Assembly, Magaji Tambal, explains that the address is part of the event scheduled to commemorate 25 years of unbroken democracy and legislative activities in Nigeria. The former Speaker and current Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, will deliver a paper on reflections on the House, while Mr. David Mark, who served as President of the 6th and 7th Senate, will be making presentations on reflections on the Senate. Also, former Head of State, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, will also deliver a paper on reflections on the journey to democracy. The Kogi State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal sitting in Abuja has affirmed Usman Ododo as the duly elected governor of the state. The three-member panel, led by Justice Ado Berininkudu, dismissed the petition that was brought before it by the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, that's Murtala Ajaka. In a unanimous decision, the tribunal held that the petitioner and the candidate of the SDP, Mr. Murtala Ajaka, failed to prove his allegation that Governor Ododo did not secure the highest number of valid votes cast at the election and failed to adduce credible evidence to prove their allegations of overvoting, among others. In a similar development, the Bayelsa State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in the nation's capital also affirmed the re-election of Governor Diri as governor. The three-member panel led by Justice Dekunle Adeleye dismissed the petition by the All Progressives Congress and its candidate, Mr. Timipri Silva, for lacking in merit. In its unanimous decision, the tribunal held that the petitioners failed to adduce any credible evidence to substantiate any of the allegations they raised against the outcome of the Bayelsa State Governorship poll. It struck out as incompetent all the additional proof of evidence as well as statements on oath of some witnesses that testified for the petitioners.
After months of legal fireworks, the verdict is in, as the Governorship Election Tribunal sitting in Abuja has affirmed the election of Governor Usman Ododo of Kogi State, as well as the election of Governor Diri of Bayelsa State. In a unanimous decision, the Kogi Tribunal held that the petitioner, the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Mr. Murtala Ajaka, failed to prove his allegation that Governor Ododo did not secure the highest number of valid votes cast at the election. They further held that the issue of forgery and non-qualification is a pre-election matter. The tribunal also held that the petitioner failed to adduce credible evidence to prove the allegations of overvoting. The court also faulted the petitioners for failing to call credible witnesses to prove the case, and subsequently struck out several documentary evidences and witness statements tendered for being hearsay. Outside the courtroom, it's jubilation for the winning party.
We are pleased as the legal team of the second respondent. We feel the judgment was was erudite, well researched, and it dealt with every key issue, ranging from whether our candidate was qualified and whether the election was conducted in substantial compliance.
We know that it's an unexpected outcome on the main issues submitted for consideration. regards to issues of qualification and overvoting. We are waiting keenly to secure the certified copy of the judgment delivered to enable us to interrogate it further and know the way forward.
Meanwhile, the Bayelsa State Governorship Tribunal also dismissed the petition of the All Progressives Congress and its candidate, Mr. Tinubu Silva, for lacking in merit. In its unanimous decision, the tribunal held that the petitioners failed to adduce any credible evidence to substantiate any of the allegations they raised against the outcome of the Bayelsa State Governorship poll. It struck out as incompetent all the additional proof of evidence as well as statements on oath of some of the witnesses that testified for the petitioners. The tribunal held that the decision of Mr. Silva and his party to file their additional proof of evidence and statement on oath of witnesses long after they had filed the petition was an attempt to amend the case of the petitioners. More so, the tribunal dismissed the allegation that the Deputy Governor, Lawrence Erujakpo, tendered forged university and NYC exemption certificates to INEC in aid of his qualification to contest the election.
The allegations were not proved. And even their case, the witnesses they called gave inconsistent evidence that were discrepant. So altogether, it was a very good victory, and we are very happy that our client's mandate has today been vindicated.
All eyes are now fixed on the appellate court if the petitioners will appeal the judgments. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
There's still a lot more coming from the court. This time, the path to unity in the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State may be in sight following Senator Jimoh Ibrahim's decision to withdraw a suit challenging the victory of Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa at the primaries. Senator Ibrahim, who was a contestant and represents Ondo South in the Senate, says the suit was withdrawn due to the intervention of President Bola Tinubu. According to Senator Ibrahim in a statement, he says he cannot disobey the President of the Federal Republic because the issue is contested in court is not personal, but to improve internal democracy, to which the President has promised to do so. Senator Ibrahim had come forth in the exercise that took place in April with over 9,000 votes as against Governor Ayedatiwa's over 48,000 votes before proceeding to court to challenge alleged irregularities. Let's now head to Kano, where a high court in the state has ordered the 15th Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, from parading himself as the Emir of Kano, and also directed the police to evict him from the mini palace at the State Road. The court, presided over by Justice Amina Adamu Aliyu, gave the order on Monday. This legal tussle followed the Federal High Court ruling last Thursday, which restrained the reinstatement of Muhammad Sanusi II as Emir of Kano and suspended the law establishing the dissolved 5 emirates in the state. The court order also affects other traditional rulers in the dissolved emirates, restraining Nasiru Ado Bayero, Ibrahim Abubakar II, Kabiru Mohammed Inuwa, and Ali Ibrahim Gaya from parading themselves as emirs of Bichi, Gaya, Rano, and Karaye, respectively. Justice Aliyu emphasized the importance of maintaining the rule of law, stating that the court will ensure that its orders are respected and upheld until the substantive motion is heard. Well, we also understand that despite these orders, even directing the police to remove the 15th Emir is still in that palace. If there's any development, you'll be sure to get it right here on Channels Television. But before that court ruling, the drama in the Emirate tussle continued as both Aminu Ado Bayero and Mohammed Sanusi II received district heads in separate palaces. Last week, Friday, Governor Abba Yusuf had signed a law dissolving the additional emirates created by the previous administration. Let's watch this.
It has been 4 days since the dissolution of the 5 emirates and the subsequent reinstatement of Muhammad Sanusi II as the new Emir of Kano. Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero is making a second appearance, and this time he rides on a horse amidst cheering by supporters. Since his return, the Emir has been residing at the Nasarawa residence of the Emir, and today he is receiving district heads and well-wishers at the palace. Some of the well-wishers include women who marched from Open Nasarawa to the palace in solidarity with the Emir.
Ododo was a very good man, and he helped less privileged people, and nobody can be the good Emir like Ododo.
Meanwhile, Alhaji Muhammadu Sanusi II made a similar appearance as he rode down to his apartment after receiving guests at the palace. The Fajr Local Council chairman is among the well-wishers received by the Emir, and he has a piece of advice for the 15th Emir of Kano.
I will only advise Alhaji Ododo to accept the will of God, accept the will of Allah. It is the Almighty that destined for somebody to be whatever. He was an Emir, and now the Almighty says his time is over. I'm just advising him to accept this.
The Kano Emirate continues to be at the center of attention as both emirs garner support and welcome district heads amidst the ongoing tussle. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
Apparently, that issue is far from over, despite court orders. And that's why we're being joined in the program by former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Kaduna State, Mr. Jonathan Adamu. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Adamu, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
So at the moment, we have two court orders. One from the Federal High Court, in the language of the law, to suspend and not give effect to the Kano State Emirate Council Repeal Law 2024, which actually was intended to stop the re-enthronement, if you will, of Muhammadu Sanusi II. We have another court order emanating, I think, yesterday, that says, look, the Emir, Ado Bayero, that was removed, has to obey the law and leave the palace, and even instructing the police to do so. What is playing out in terms of the legalese here? Because everybody seems to have a document to show, and these are courts of concurrent jurisdiction.
What is happening here basically is politics. People trying to use politics, or rather people trying to use the law to achieve their political objectives. And that's what we've seen consistently in Nigeria. Whenever this issue of interim orders come up, people have political disagreements, and then they run to court to secure injunctions, to their benefit. Of course, we all know that interim orders, ex parte injunctions, are usually one-sided. They are based on affidavit evidence, so the court acts on what is before him. And when somebody presents an affidavit that looks to him or looks to the judge like a lot of damage could be done, and the judge is persuaded, he issues that kind of order. So it's beyond legality. It's a fight between two parties, and they're just trying to use the law to validate their actions.
What should be the way forward right now? Because we've always said, both sides have legal document to hold off to their position. And now you can hear from the reports we played. One man is saying, Allah has given you the opportunity, has taken it away, and those are moral issues and religious issues. But we're talking legalese now. What should be the way forward? Because everybody's concerned that this should not escalate beyond what it is right now. It's quite a big sensitive issue.
The judiciary, the legal process has a way of resolving itself. I think the parties should maintain the peace. The reinstated Emir, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, should maintain the peace. The emir that was recently removed, Aminu Ado Bayero, should also maintain the peace. They should urge their supporters to stay calm. Those two injunctions will be resolved by the courts eventually. The first injunction was very cleverly drafted. It sought to restrain the implementation, of the
reinstatement.
The new law. Well, no, not just the reinstatement, the implementation of that law by the Kano State House of Assembly. But you see, that law had already been implemented by the governor in appointing Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. And usually, you can issue an injunction to restrain an act that has been completed. So to that extent, you would wonder, about the validity of the order issued by the Federal High Court. Courts, we all know, should not be seen to act in vain. So the question is the Federal High Court acting in vain? It looks like that is the case. For the second order, they've gone to the government has gone to the right court, because for the first order issued against the Kano State government, obviously there are jurisdictional issues, and the court itself has admitted that as much in its order, that the parties should address it at the next adjourned date on the issue of jurisdiction. So obviously the court doubts its power and capacity to sit on that matter. But clearly, for the order sought by the Kano State government against Aminu Ado Bayero, on the surface of it, the court obviously has jurisdiction. It's within the powers of the Kano State High Court to run that.
There are actually two issues I want to explore, but let's see how much we can take. Now, there are two concerns here. We understand, just before I came on air, that the Nasarawa Palace, the smaller palace, is still being occupied by Aminu Ado Bayero under tight security. And we also understand that district heads visited Ado Bayero and Mohammed Sanusi II. So it's a question of, where does this leave security agencies? So why would the security agencies be protecting Aminu Ado Bayero as against that court ruling? Because even for security agencies, I'm sure this can be confusing. Help us here.
There is no confusion there. The security agencies have a duty to protect both parties. Emir Aminu Ado Bayero, as a citizen of Nigeria, a prominent citizen of Nigeria, whether he is a sitting emir or a former emir, deserves to be protected. And given the events happening in Kano at the moment, he should be protected. Ditto Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, whether the order reinstating has been set aside or not, he has the right to be protected under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the police and the security agencies protecting any one of them is not out of place. Kano is boiling at the moment. We see both parties have their supporters all streaming into the, trying to show their solidarity.
So my question, my apologies, please. My question is, because in that order, if you read through that order, I think you see a place where the police was actually instructed to carry out a particular order. That is a concern here. We're not just talking about protecting him, to carry out a particular order of maybe taking him out of the Nasarawa Palace rather than retaining him there, because we can't have two sitting emirs. I guess that's the understanding of the law.
Well, I don't know how that order can be implemented, without the police seem to be taking sides. I think the best thing to do is for both of them to enjoy the protection that they are guaranteed under the law until the court resolves the issues either way.
Okay, so let's move on to another issue just before we wrap up. But this is clearly an issue of great concern. But we're also seeing that it's tapering towards district heads now choosing who they will be loyal to. But I guess those are purely traditional issues at the end of the day, based on the resolution of the court. But another issue I wanted you to speak to, we had the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, I don't know whether that track is ready, where he spoke yesterday about the fact that they should scrap local government, what do you call it, the State Electoral Commission from conducting local government elections, because according to the words of Professor Mahmoud, he said state governors should stop the coronation and start conducting elections. Their premise is the fact that, for instance, Gombe conducted elections, all seats were won by the APC. I think Oyo conducted election, all seats were won by the PDP. So it's almost uniform across board. It's like the Electoral Commission is not independent of the whims and caprices of the executive. But on the other hand, people are arguing that we may be going back to a unitary system if INEC has to conduct state elections. What's your view?
Yes, my view is that INEC has no business with state elections. They have no business at all. I'm also of the view that the state governments have the power to, well, let me put it differently so that I'm not misunderstood. The local governments are sub-units under the states. So they are rightly under the purview and control of the states. But having said so, that doesn't give the states the power to misuse the funds and that are allocated to local governments, to dissolve local governments, agreement, and so on. See, the problem, I often tell people, it's not the problem of law. The problem is problem of individuals, people who just exercise impunity. That's all. The Constitution is very clear. The system of local government, administration under democratic elected councils is guaranteed under the Constitution. You don't need to go to school to understand that you should only have elected local governments in place. You don't need to go to school to understand that you can't be dissolving local governments at will. How many elections is INEC going to conduct? When we say we run a federation, then you take the powers of conducting council elections and give it to INEC. You're not really solving the problem. The problem is impunity. Governors just exert impunity. That's all, pure and simple.
All right.
So
you just land on your thoughts in 10 seconds.
Sorry?
Just land on your thoughts in 10 seconds. We're totally out of time.
So my point is that it's not an issue of the president going to court to seek an order or amending the law, like some people would say. The problem is simply a personnel issue.
All right.
The chief executives of the state abuse their power. That's all, pure and simple.
Okay, but it's quite a big challenge that I wish I could have more time to explore your legal understanding and help us out here, because there are concerns about the powers of the governors. On one hand, over the local government autonomy, electoral commissions in the state, even the legislature are literally, most of them or some of them are puppets of the executive. So the governors have a lot of grip on elements that should be independent, which everyone is trying to untangle, but they keep fighting back. If you look at Section 7 of the Constitution, it says there should be local government, but they didn't give a timeline. So that's an excuse for committees and caretaker committees. I must thank you so much for coming on the program. Mr. Jonathan Adamu, former Kaduna State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Have a lovely day.
All right, let's move on now to other stories. Moving on to the tussle for the leadership of the Labour Party, I should say, where it has taken a different turn of event as groups clash at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja. Trouble started when members of the Ondo State chapter of the party gathered at the party's headquarters to demand the National Working Committee of the party ratify the decision of the chapter suspending Mr. Julius Abure as the national chairman of the party. However, another group in support of Mr. Abure countered that particular protest. And just like I was discussing with the Attorney General a few days after the federal government sued the 36-state government at the Supreme Court seeking full autonomy for local government, the discussion continues at the National Assembly, or the nation's capital, with the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, calling for scrapping of electoral commissions, that's of the state. The occasion was a national dialogue organized by the House of Representatives where the president says his administration is committed to strengthening the local government system. According to the president, the degradation of that level of governance has contributed significantly to the inability of the country to address security and developmental threats. And more stories now to Nasarawa State, where members of the All Progressives Congress from the North-Central region are calling for the establishment of the North-Central Development Commission to tackle challenges bedeviling the region. They also demanded the dredging of the River Niger and resuscitation of the Ajaokuta steel mill, among others, to revamp the region's economy. They made a call at their maiden meeting in Lafia, the Nasarawa State capital.
Stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress converge on Lafia, the Nasarawa State capital, for the maiden North-Central meeting. The establishment of the North-Central Development Commission, dredging of the River Niger, resuscitation of Ajaokuta steel mill, political reward for members and unity, among other issues, are up for deliberations. President Bola Tinubu is represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, together with the National Chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, governors of Kwara, Kogi, Benue, and Niger, ministers, members of the National Assembly, among other stalwarts of the party. They discuss the way forward. With a commendation of President Bola Tinubu's reforms and policies across the country, the stakeholders are asking for more.
Most of our challenges can be solved by setting up the North-Central Development Commission, where we can challenge all our challenges of investments, solid minerals, infrastructural deficit, healthcare, human capital development issues.
The host governor, Abdullahi Soleh, emphasizes the imperative of unity among members to achieve desired growth and development.
Once we truly work united from the inside of our hearts and the outside, then in reality, we will be able to get more for our own people.
Kogi and Benue state governors highlight the region's natural and human endowments as they call for synergy.
We have the heaviest deposit of mineral resources. Our land is generally arable, and we have massive water bodies to drive irrigation, transportation, and blue economy.
This North-Central unifying force is going to help enormously in redefining what we can even do, not only to feed the North-Central states, but the entire nation and way beyond.
The national chairman of the APC reveals that the meeting is part of the reforms system introduced to keep the party active.
Another reform that we have introduced is the e-registration of our members, in order to have an accurate data of our party.
Unanimously, the stakeholders enumerate the contribution of the zone to the success of the party in the 2023 elections, which they believe should attract more federal appointments. The secretary to the government of the federation gives an assurance of even appointments.
We have a template which we are going to follow, and those who are aggrieved will no longer be aggrieved. It can't be everybody, but there will be marked improvement in what you will see in the next few weeks.
As the first meeting of the North-Central All Progressives Congress stakeholders ends, they are united with a common voice, asking for more recognition of the region in national affairs, as well as measures to tackle challenges bedeviling the region. Halima Agayem, Channels Television News.
That's it on the program. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga.